good afternoon to you. In the United States, a group of representatives in their Congress have written a letter to the White House asking officials to move this year's Agoa summit away from South Africa. In the letter, the legislators say, as there is a chance we will be excluded from the African Growth and Opportunity Act because of our relationship with Russia, and in particular the docking of the ship the Lady R, amid claims we loaded something onto that ship. You might remember, the U.S. ambassador to South Africa, Ruben Bridgetti, said he would stake his life on the claim that South African weapons were sold to Russia. But the U.S. website Politico has reported American officials believe Bridgetti went too far in his claims. Brooks Spector is an associate editor at Daily Maverick. Brooks, good afternoon to you. How is a letter like this going to land at the White House? How serious a player are these legislators?
Well, good afternoon, Stephen. They're serious people because they're senior members in Congress, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives. And importantly, they're both Democrats and Republicans. Somebody like Senator Chris Coons from Delaware has long been a supporter of South Africa. He was here a couple of months ago to commemorate, to acknowledge, and to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the PEPFAR program dealing with HIV and AIDS. And it represents a real sense of unease among more than just the four members who signed the letter, that South Africa's circumstances, its stance vis-a-vis Russia and Ukraine, is clearly tilting in one direction, and the actions so far indicate that. But let's be clear, this is a letter. This is not a piece of proposed legislation. It's not a congressional resolution, let alone anything that resembles a law that's actually been passed. It's a request to the president to consider doing something that is within his realm, which is foreign policy. And I suspect that they will read it. Now, Chris Coons is an old and dear friend of Joe Biden, the president, so the letter obviously is going to get a respectful reading. But the president will certainly, and Secretary of State and so forth, will certainly be within their prerogatives to say, we recognize your concerns, but we're going to go ahead with the forum. The U.S. and 38 or so nations in Africa, it's an annual event. Or they may say, your concerns are noted and we'll take it under advisement, and then we'll have a discussion with the South Africans. And then things begin to move badly in that direction. So it's a ball that's still up in the air.
It seems to me that people are using Agoa and using a letter like this to send a very strong signal to our president and to our government.
Well, I mean, Agoa, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, is a serious lever. And as you know, it creates the possibility for African exporters, many of them are located in this country, to send their products to the United States duty and tariff free. Now, some countries it doesn't matter very much, but here it has a real impact because many of the products that are exported under its auspices are value added. That means that there has been a lot of processing and manufacturing going into it, and that translates into jobs and income. And if that's true, then that is a stick that can be waved with some seriousness.
There are also many other things going on within all of this at the moment, Brooks Spector. Because, I mean, for example, we have our president, Cyril Ramaphosa. He's instituted a panel, 3 people, to investigate what happened in Simonstown and to investigate if anything was loaded onto the ship, the Lady R. But the president has said that the terms of reference will be secret. He said the evidence will be secret and the findings will be kept secret as well. Now, the point of the panel, as I understand it, is to find out what happened. There's a political purpose to appointing the panel. If the entire panel is kept secret, is any political purpose served by that?
Well, I mean, it's really bad optics. I mean, you have 2 audiences for a panel like that, realistically. You have the domestic audience, which is the taxpayers who are paying for it and who have a say in the way the government carries its mission and purposes out. But you have the international audience, which can either be reassured or further unnerved by information, and if you don't have information that's made available, perhaps not all of it, I mean, a government has legitimate secrets too, but if you don't have anything released to reassure domestically or internationally, you're right. You have to wonder why in the world have it in the first place. Just simply make the announcement and say there was nothing or there was this and we're going to punish the miscreants or whatever. But to keep it all under a basket with no light on it seems counterproductive to me.
For the US, this is all about Russia. For us, this is about wanting to maintain relationships with the United States and with Russia. And it's about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is a small country, to use a phrase far away, about which we know very little. The point I'm trying to make is that it is amazing to me that South Africa is suddenly caught up because Russia invaded Ukraine. The United States wants to take action against us. We didn't really do anything.
Well, you know, decisions have consequences. I mean, the decision to send high-level military delegates to meetings in Moscow, the decision to have a naval joint exercise with Russia and the Chinese, the decision to make any number of public statements that the country remains neutral, even if the actions don't appear to be the case. Those are discrete decisions that do have consequences because Agoa is not some sort of universal given. It's a specific act that is created by the United States to make beneficiaries out of tens of 38 African nations. And it is one of the few really discrete items that could be used as a stick. I mean, obviously, the U.S. isn't about to break relations with South Africa over this, just as I suspect the Russians don't have any plan to invade South Africa or to punish it militarily if it changes its position. There's one other thing you should add into your calculus, though, of course, is the South Africans find themselves caught up further with the problem of their annual BRICS summit, which would presumably bring Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, to South Africa in August, even though he is under a warrant of arrest, which South Africa has now domesticated into its own domestic legal structure, because of a series of acts that took place during the invasion. Not the invasion itself, remember, just the abduction and the stealing of babies, infants, and children from occupied areas and sending them on to Russia from Ukraine. So South Africa now has to somehow balance its relationship in BRICS and its relationship with Russia as part of that, in that whole other picture we were just talking about up until this moment.
Brooks Spector, Associate Editor at Daily Maverick, really appreciate the time.